Hi, I want to introduce you to Anna Payne, who is the sales queen extraordinaire. She will get you falling in love with selling because, as we all know, it is not a dirty word. She's forthright, she's down to earth, and she makes the sales process really simple. Have a listen and just let me know whether you've fallen back in love with selling. There we go. Recording will start straight away, but it doesn't matter because we can cut out the preamble and stuff like that. But what have you been doing since the Adventures in Marketing, Anna? What have you been up to?
I have been busy actually. What have I done? We had February break
Hmm.
straight after Adventures in Marketing, so I had a week off with the kids, which was really nice.
Yeah,
And against all odds, February in Scotland, it was quite sunny and quite
that
warm,
wasn't
so that was
bad. Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And then I've just been straight back into it. Client delivery. I've got a lot happening just now. I've got a couple of group programs running. I've got my mastermind. I created a new offer, so it was that yeah, a lot
Brilliant.
that's going on. So yeah.
Brilliant. Really pleased for you. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this. Um, and the reason I asked you is because you were so impressive up on the stage at Adventures
Oh,
in
thank you.
Marketing. Yeah, really impressive. And what I really liked about what you were doing was that you simplified selling. You completely took the stigma out of it because a lot of people feel there's a
Yeah.
stigma attached to it. And as I was watching you, I thought so many of our coaches need to hear this from somebody who you profess to be shy and, quite an introvert. And I thought they absolutely need to hear this. So that Adventures in Marketing event inspired me to scrap my old podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
I know. Start again and go, right, what do our audience need? And what they need is confidence in building their client base, in selling, in networking.
Yeah.
So I've invited you and a series of other people who have niched in a particular area, and I want you to talk about how you work and what you do so that our audience can go, right, I can take that bit and I can do that bit. Is that all right, Anna?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Brilliant.
Juicy.
Good. Yeah, it is juicy. It is. So I really want to start by you telling us your story because
Mhm.
you how would you describe yourself now? What's your job title, Anna?
I would say I'm a consultant really and a
Okay.
strategist.
Okay.
And I teach people how to grow their businesses primarily online.
Okay.
And I am a sales expert.
Yeah.
So I can teach you how to make more sales, but there are all sorts of other bits that go into it. So having great offers so that you've got good things to sell, structuring a business in a way that works for you and for your life. So there are other bits, but I think the thing that I lead with is business growth and sales expert.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Perfect place to start. Tell us your story and how you got into selling.
Well, I've been in selling for a long time. When I say I've been in sales for more than 26 years, people think, oh, am I actually old enough? I must have been a child. But
I
no,
was
alas, I am old enough.
You started when you were 10.
Yes, when I had a very early job, primary school. Um, so yeah, so I got my first job. Well, I did bits and pieces of selling as like part-time jobs as a student. Like I
Mm.
sold perfume in a department store and I had a holiday rep job where I sold excursions at the welcome meetings and things. And that was all quite fun and felt quite natural and quite easy. Um, but then after I graduated, I wanted to work in recruitment. But I was adamant I am not going to be a salesperson. I'm not
Okay.
doing cold calls. I'm not doing it. So anyway, they took me on as an account manager, which just meant I had a few clients to look after in service and was to grow the account, but I didn't have to do all the cold calling out of the phone book. Um, and I did quite well. Well, I did very well actually.
Right.
But then I realized really quickly that all these other people around me were getting paid a lot more money than me and they were earning commission
Mm.
effectively were not really doing as such a good job as I was. And I just,
Right.
the small competitive part of me came out and I thought, I can probably give this a go. I'm pretty good at what I do and I like it. And I know that clients like me. I'm just going to try it. And this was back, like, this was quite old fashioned. Not everybody, I mean, we're talking about going back to like, you didn't really have, not everybody had the internet.
Nope.
People didn't have mobile phones.
Nope.
It was different days, even though it wasn't that long ago. So this was like 1999, the year 2000.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started to work in recruitment and it was proper. Like it was a proper sales environment, between the hours of 10 and 12 and 2 and 4, you are on the phone. And if you're not on the phone, there has to be a really good reason.
Yeah.
You probably just need to be on the phone anyway. And it was like my client base, it was office personnel
Right.
in Edinburgh. And I just had companies that started with the letters A to K. So I had to look them up in the
Perfect.
phone book and cold call them. And that, I mean, put me way out of my comfort zone. And I kind of hated that cold calling part. But I realized that once I was in, I was really good at it because I could
Mm.
build relationships and I could do a lot with one client and I delivered and all that stuff. So I got really good at it really quickly. Um, and I started to form my ideas about sales and what makes for good sales. And I started to realize that this cold calling and this, you have to make 100 cold calls a week. And it's like, this isn't really working for me because I'm making more money than anybody else, but I've only got 5 clients, but I'm just looking after them really well and doing lots
Right.
with them. So I kind of started quite early on thinking this bit about it's a numbers game and cold calling and all that, it doesn't really work. So I stayed in recruitment, but I moved into a slightly different niche where it was much more relationship driven and I had much more chance to be an expert and build these valuable relationships. And I stayed in the recruitment industry for another 16 years actually and did really
Wow.
well. Founded my own or co-founded my own recruitment company and built that up. And ended up selling all over the world. So sold to clients in Australia, New Zealand, the Middle East, Canada,
Fabulous.
Asia. So that was a brilliant career and I learned so much. And that's really where I got my grounding in sales from those very early days of like, here's the phone book, go and make £10,000 this month, which was
Oh,
pretty much what we were told to do,
yeah.
right the
Yeah.
way up to that much more kind of nuanced consultative selling where we were selling, £1 million contracts to governments overseas, which was, an incredible experience. So that was kind of how I came up through sales.
Right.
Um, yeah. And then
Brilliant.
I had my children and working internationally and selling internationally just became
Mm.
really challenging. On paper it looked great, but when the reality is that you've got a young baby at home, you don't want to be flying to Dubai or to Sydney or, I just wanted to be home. So after I had my second child, I left and I decided I was going to do something different. So I set up a totally different business. It was a children's activity business because I was very much in that
Ah,
stage of life. I had like
right.
a baby, I had a toddler. Because I'd left the recruitment business, I had all sorts of restrictions around what
Yeah.
I could do for the next 2 years, and I couldn't do XYZ. So I thought, well, that's fine. I'll do something different. Anyway, that business grew really quickly. That I grew that to 6 figures in the first 12 months
Wow.
because I knew how to sell.
Yeah.
And then I was going to all these like mums in business type networking things. And I was meeting all these really amazing women, but they were really struggling because even though they were fabulous at what they did, they just didn't know how to sell or market. And that commercial part of my brain just switched right onto that. And I was like, I'm so passionate about trying to help them and support them. And people kept saying, like, do you do coaching? And I was like, no, I just own a swim school. And then I like a sort of a year had passed, and I thought, I think I actually do want to do coaching.
Okay.
And then that was signed from about 2018 that started to develop, and then over the last 5 years, that's really been the main thing. And I've gone from sort of general business coaching really into that niche of helping people with sales,
Brilliant.
because I think sales is that piece that's just missing for most people, and people are
Yeah.
so averse to it. They've got that real, like, almost like visceral reaction in their body of like, oh no, I'm not doing that. And I know
Yeah.
how that feels because well, when we talked about when I had the phone book and here go and phone all these people and make 100 calls. Oh, I don't want to do that either. So I know how that feels. But I think it's amazing to be able to support people with a different way to look at sales and to give them the
Absolutely.
tools to do that really kind of relationship driven sell.
Yeah, definitely. We must have been in recruitment at the same time in Edinburgh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I closed my business in 2008
Yeah.
after the banking
Yeah.
crash. But yeah, we must have been, I don't, what was your business recruitment business called?
Well, I started off at Blue Arrow, and then
Uh-huh.
from Blue Arrow, I went into medical recruitment. So I went to work for Medic International. And
Oh.
then I co-founded Head Medical, which was part of Head Resourcing.
Oh, so you
Um,
know Paul.
yes. Oh, what's more,
Haha.
everybody knows Paul.
Everybody knows Paul. Sorry to all US listeners or anybody who doesn't live in Edinburgh. Everybody knows Paul. Right. Okay,
What was
cool.
your business, Rebecca? So then
So
the
no, that's all
recruitment
right. So
side.
I went from Hayes. That's where I
Yep.
did my grounding. So the 10 till 12 and the 2
Oh
till
yeah, you
4,
know all that. Yeah.
hugely familiar. 2 visits a week, 6 CVs per job, blah blah blah. Yeah, all those calls. I set up Cuthbert Recruitment in 99, and we recruited public practice accountants, and then we ended up recruiting in property, and the third sector recruited fundraisers in the third sector.
Do you know what? I
What?
think you might have interviewed me. I think
No,
you did.
no.
Did you have an office on, was it Castle Street?
Charlotte Street,
Yes.
North Charlotte Street.
I think you interviewed me.
No way.
I think you did. That is so funny.
So sorry I didn't give you the job.
I can't remember. But when I was leaving Blue Arrow, I knew that
Uh-huh.
I wanted to go into something because we were doing like office temps and
Yeah,
I wanted to go into something that was more specialist. So I was looking for, and I looked at legal and
because we were legal
accountancy.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And then I ended up going into, I recruited psychologists first and then laterally doctors. But
Ah,
yes, I've definitely been for an interview
that's
at
so
Cuthbert Recruitment.
weird.
That is so funny, isn't it? Edinburgh's a village, isn't
Oh,
it? It
it
really
is a
is.
village. It is a village. Okay, so now, right, I understand your background. Now you take people, well, tell me what the process is. Talk to me how you really get people from hating the word sales to realizing that they can make a sale.
I think it's about reframing it and seeing sales as not a negative thing, not like
Yeah.
a dirty secret that we have to do. Sales is actually the most essential part of your business.
Hmm.
If we do not have clients and we do not have money coming in, we really don't have a business.
No, we
We
don't.
need that consistent income, and sales literally is like that heartbeat that keeps your business
It is.
alive. So we have to feel positive about it because when we feel negative or we feel resistant, our brain is really good at trying to keep us safe and being like, oh, don't do that thing, don't do
Mm,
that thing. I'll go and procrastinate. And one of the things I talked about when you saw me talk at Adventures in Marketing was this whole anything but sales, where people will keep themselves so
yeah.
busy with the stuff that feels comfortable and they can kind of almost lull themselves into that false sense of security of being busy, but they're not actually doing the thing that they need to do, which is about putting their offer out there, having sales conversations. So for me, it's about getting people switched on to the fact that, look, if you want a business, you have to find a way to make this work for you. But hey, guess what? Here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that horrible, like cold pitch people,
Doesn't.
get people on the phone, persuade them, push them, close them down, because most people cannot show up in that way. And I think because I am not one of these high energy, jazz hands, shouty, look at me type people, which a lot of salespeople are. And that's great because that type of personality for them, yeah, sales
Works for
is
them.
easy. But for most people, they can't show up like that because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel integral to who they are. Like that, I can't do that. We talk about that visceral reaction in your
Yeah.
body. It's just that's not me either.
No.
So we need to think about sales actually as just having conversations and helping people. And that's the
Yeah.
very first reframe. We're just having conversations about how we might be able to help people and we're seeing where it goes.
Brilliant.
And then kind of helping people understand like what is selling? Because people are like, well, I don't know, I tried to launch it, it didn't work. Well, what did you do? Well, I posted it on Facebook 3 times. Well, okay,
Right.
that's not selling and that's not a launch. So let's go back to the beginning and start again. So I think first of all, it's about kind of removing that resistance, helping people feel confident that they can sell in the way that feels integral and good
Mm.
to who they are as a person. And that actually it can be a really positive experience for their clients as well, because I kind of like being sold to. I don't know about you, but when somebody's doing it well and they're doing it in a way that's consultative, they're telling me all the ways they can help me. I'm kind of like, yes, yes, I'm an easy mark. Sign me up, that's great.
It's easiest thing in the world to sell to salespeople.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah, because we
easiest
all have
sell
this
ever.
belief, this
Yeah.
optimistic belief that yes, that sounds amazing. Hook
Yeah.
me in. So yeah, so I'm like I like being sold to when it's done well. And actually thinking about that just as helping people and having conversations is such a positive reframe. And
Yeah.
then what I like to do is give people just some structure and some guidance. So in the same way as we had 10 till 12, 2 till 4, this many calls, this many visits. Like, not that because that's too much and that's too
Yeah.
overwhelming for people, but like, what can you do? And just giving them some real sort of simple principles that they can follow. And I think the other thing is letting people go at their own pace. One of my clients said to me recently, "You're really good at suggesting things, and then when I say no, you let me say no, but then a month later I do it and you let me think it was my idea." And I was like, well, I'm not sure I do that intentionally, but yes, because that's how our minds work.
Yeah.
If I try and push somebody to do something, just as if you're trying to sell, that push doesn't work. It has to be that pull and people have to
Mm.
get there on their own. So it's about letting people do things in a way that feels manageable and breaking things down so they do feel manageable. Like, don't try and have 10 sales conversations. Don't follow up with 100 people. Follow up with 2 people.
Yeah.
Create one conversation in your DMs and see what happens, and then refine and repeat and
Yeah.
as you get comfortable.
I'm gonna go back to the anything but sales.
Yes.
So I want to shout out to all the coaches who are listening to this. If you're farting about doing something instead of selling, including listening to this podcast, get 2 ideas and go away and use it and come back to it once you've done your 2 ideas to help you sell something, then come back to it. How much time a day do you think the average business coach should be spending on nurturing relationships? And let's call it nurturing
Yep.
relationships.
So for me, I have a system called Sales First.
Okay,
Um, and that it's loosely based on having those core sales hours in
right.
recruitment because what happened to me is in about 2022 I got incredibly busy and fully booked, and what I found is that my revenue started to be a bit of a roller coaster because I was so busy with delivery. I would pull back on the selling and the marketing because I was delivering, and then all of a sudden it slumps and you go full on the marketing, you get fully booked again. So I need to sort this out. So I need to do 2 things. One, I need to build recurring revenue into my business, but
Yeah.
two, I need to make time for sales every day. So I started sales first because I thought that hour between 9 and 10 in the morning works really well for me. Even if something is urgent in your inbox, it can generally wait till 10 in the morning. It's
Yeah,
not going
it
to
can.
be.
Yeah.
And actually, if you can do a solid hour, 9 till 10, that sets you up. And I try and do that 4 times a week.
Okay.
9 till 10 is sales time. And in that time, I will do different things. I will always follow up, whether that is with warm prospects or whether that's with lapsed clients or whether that's new people that I want to create a connection with because they've kind of come into my world in some peripheral way. Maybe I've
Mm.
met at an event, maybe they've downloaded a lead magnet, maybe they bought a small course of mine, but I'll do 15 minutes of kind of outreach and follow up. And then I'm thinking about, have I posted my offer somewhere? Make sure I get the offer out. And I always track my leads. At the end of this, I'll give you a resource that your listeners can have to
Thank you.
track their leads. But I have a spreadsheet, which people are welcome to use and download. And I track all my leads in that. So I'll always have that open. And I want to be looking at that. And sometimes that spreadsheet will have a lot of leads on it because a lot of leads have come in. So that hour for me is very much about trying to work out, are these leads for right now? Are these leads who are ready to buy? Are these people who need nurturing? Just trying to have conversations and work through them. Other times I'll open that and actually there's not very many leads. It's quite a short
Mm.
list. And I'll think, right, that's kind of a temperature check for the business. I need to get out and get some leads. So I need to be doing things to generate leads. I need to share my lead magnets on socials. I need to put out lead generating content and dial that piece up. Whereas other times, it's a long list. I don't really need more leads just now. I just need to work through the leads that I've got and sort out into, yes, they're potentially interested and ready to buy. No, they're not interested. Or they might be interested, but not this month. So I'll move them
Mm.
on to next month. So really that morning hour, doing that 4 times a week, that for me is enough.
Mm.
And actually, it's a really good discipline to have in your business to do that. And it's kind of an ingrained habit in me now. And if I'm not doing it 9 till 10, I can almost feel that, if you've ever done this thing, like you have to walk 10,000 steps a day, and
Yeah.
then one day you don't count your steps, you're sort of like nagging at the back of your head,
Yeah.
you should be doing this. It's that kind of thing because I've made it a habit. But doing it 4 times a week and being as consistent as I can with it works. But to answer your question, how much time should people devote? If you're at the beginning of your business and you've got no clients yet, or very few clients, or your income's really inconsistent, the more you do, the better. So instead
Yeah.
of making an hour a day, maybe you make it 2 hours or you make it 90 minutes, but it's all about focusing on creating that point of connection and conversation, and building relationships with people, because that's what's going to move the needle. And I think, sorry if anybody feels called out, but I do it too. We love to procrastinate. We like to
Yeah.
make graphics on Canva is like one for me, or scroll on Instagram to see what audios are trending. You can always find things to like, oh, I'll just like pep up my homepage, or I'll change the fonts on this brochure. Like that is just faffing around the edges.
Yeah.
It's okay to do that sometimes, but the discipline is about like doing this other thing. And I think a lot of people feel really resistant at first to doing it, but then when they do it, I had a great message from somebody last week who'd followed my follow-up process, and she'd been a bit nervous about doing it. She's like, I don't want to be pushy. And she sent me this wonderful message, and it says, it feels like I'm just having loads of really interesting conversations. And then she sent me another message that night saying she'd made £2,600 in sales that
There
day.
you go. There
And
you
I thought,
go.
well, that's how it works. It's just
Yeah.
literally having conversations.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not anything more or less than that. Um, and I think people have this resistance because they imagine sales is like, oh, you're going to be really pushy, you're going to try and close me down, you're going to objection handle.
No.
I don't do any of that, and I don't teach any of that. It's literally just about having open conversations and helping people.
Tired of being a lonely coach? Well, don't be alone any longer. Join us at tricrest.com, tricres.com. Find all the models, frameworks, PowerPoints, tools you're ever going to need as a coach, help on marketing, selling, and position yourself as a coach, plus a lot of other great kick-ass coaches are in that community. We'll see you there, tricres.com. Bye.
Make the right decision.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And you've mentioned a few things there about offers.
Hmm.
Now a lot of your programs are online, and
Yeah.
I know the online course creator model, that's what we use. We use it via LinkedIn. We don't use it on Facebook or anywhere else. If you're a coach and you're a business coach and actually you're working face to face more
Yeah.
often than not, you're not doing online courses. What kind
Mhm.
of offers could you put out?
I think, well, the way that I use the word offer is that
Mm,
anything you sell is an offer.
okay,
So a
okay,
one-to-one consultancy package is an offer.
okay,
Um, so, if you are only selling one-to-one and working face-to-face, that's your offer. But
okay.
you need to make sure that people know that your offer exists.
Yeah,
And you need to share that and make sure that people know it, whether that is through your email list, whether that is on LinkedIn, whether that's through word of mouth. If you're building a practice of one-to-one coaching clients, referrals are such a good way that sort of
mm,
to leverage that word of mouth referrals. Um, I always think so when we're talking about building an audience from which to find leads, you can do it 3 ways. You can build an audience organically, so that's like
mhm,
one person at a time, one LinkedIn post at a time, one event at a time, you're just building. And that's good. It's organic, it feels natural. They're generally good people, the right
mhm,
people, but it's slow.
mm,
You can buy an audience with ads or with sponsorship or paid speaking. Um, and that's quicker because you're doing it in bulk, but it's expensive. And the third one is you can borrow. So just as
oh,
I'm doing now, I am borrowing effectively your audience
yeah,
because you have a warm, engaged audience who will be
yeah.
listening to this podcast. I assume most of them don't yet know me,
Nope.
but I hope that enough of them will like what they hear that they think, oh, she's interesting. I'll go and connect with her. I'll follow her. I'll download her free content. And from there, I'm adding I've kind of borrowed not only your audience, but also some of your trust and credibility and authority
Hmm.
because you presented me as a trusted expert. And I think that that's really important. So for your people, even if they are just working one to one, how can they build? Do they want to buy? Maybe, maybe not. Depends what stage of business they're at. But that borrowing of other people's audience and leveraging that by being a person of value is, I think that's important.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I set the business up and created the brand so they can leverage the brand. So
Yeah,
they leverage our content, they borrow our content, and they leverage our audience as well because they're connected to it. And that obviously in the early days we had a very small audience, but now it's bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah,
And it really does give them a platform and really helps them. And then it's up to them to go ahead and utilize that. And that's the thing. Often they say to us, will you provide us with leads? I'm like, I can't. There's
no,
over 100 coaches now. You're all over the world. You all do something different. There's no way I can provide you with leads, even if I could afford to. I
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
Um, but what we can do is position you and give you everything you need so that you can get your own leads.
yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, great. So they've got their offer, they're telling the world about
Hmm.
it. So many people do a lot of dating and never ask for the kiss.
Yes. Yeah.
How do
Would
they get over
yeah.
that?
I think that's the thing. You just have to give the people the opportunity to buy. Sorry, turn this down. Um, yeah, I mean, we have to tell people about our offer. We have
Mm,
to tell people what we want to do next. We need a strong call to action, whether that is to book a call, whether
yeah.
it is to apply now or buy now. We need to think about what do we want people to do next. We need to share content that grabs attention, activates some sort of interest or desire to learn more or possibly to buy because it's content that they're like, oh, that's grabbed me. Like, I want that. That speaks to me.
Mm,
We need to tell them what to do next because there are a lot of people out there who share a lot of content, which is great, but I don't know what they do. And I see that through my connections on social media. I know your dog's name. I know where you went on holiday. I know that you've got 3 kids. I know you're vegetarian, but like, I don't know what your business is, and I don't know how you could possibly help me or my clients in the future. So, it feels like a lot of like building know, like, and trust without ever the next step.
mhm.
And I really want people to get used to thinking about their business like a funnel and that know, like, and trust in that social media piece. That's the top of the funnel. And that we generate leads and interest there, but we then need to follow through with those people and take them on that journey to turn them into clients. So we have to make sure that we are giving people opportunities to work with us and that we're sharing snippets of what it might be like to work with us. Like I love to talk about, oh, in my client session this week, this was a question that came up, or this question comes up time and time again, or my client created this result, or this was the increase in sales. Like sharing so people get an idea of what it might be like to work with
Yeah.
you. I think that's important. That gets people's attention because they start to imagine, oh, well, I would like to go from 0 to 40K in a launch, or actually, I would like to grow my revenue by 200%. What do I need to do? Okay, book a call or apply here. It just takes people on that journey.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there's a lot of skepticism out there at the moment about, I think quite a few people have been burnt in the past with, download this, get into my funnel, get this, you pay for an expensive program, and they walk away and they've got nothing to show for it.
Yeah,
And one of the reasons I've got you on is that I absolutely know your clients always get value. Because of the way you spoke, it was like, Anna is not snake oil here. Anna's the real deal, definitely. What advice can you give to people who are bombarded by these messages? And what
yeah,
advice can you give them about picking the right people to work with?
yeah, I think that's right. And I think one of the things to know, we talked earlier about like, I'm an easy mark. You might be
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
sell to me. But 95% of buying decisions are made based on emotion. So
yeah.
and I know that I'm a very emotional buyer. Oh, I want it. I need it. Oh, I don't want to miss out. Like, oh, grab it, grab it. I recognize that in myself and I take time, even if I think I want it, I'm going to just take the time and I'm going to, is this a logical decision?
Hmm.
And I'm going to do some proper research. What kind of results does this person get? Do they share their results? Who are their clients? Are there public reviews and testimonials? Do they feel consistent and real? Who do I know that's worked with them? How do they show up? Are they consistent? What's their background? Is there any kind of risk reversal or guarantee?
Mm.
Really just taking time to do that due diligence. And one of the things that I think is quite off-putting in our industry, especially in the online space, is that people really market to pain points like the pain of being broke, the pain of being
Mm.
stuck, the
Yeah.
pain and shame of your business hasn't taken off. And I really dislike that. And I see that happening and I see people being manipulated. And even I was watching a launch recently and they were specifically targeting, it was of a business product, but they were specifically targeting parents who were clearly in poverty. About, make the next Christmas the first Christmas that you don't have to worry about how you're going to buy presents for the kids. And I just thought
Mm.
that sits
That's
really
not
badly with
nice.
me. Awful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not
Um,
nice.
and I think just be really aware that, yeah, there are people out there. And when these manipulative tactics come up, for
Mm.
me, that's a red flag. And I will not work with that
Yeah. No,
kind of person.
I
Um,
think that's a really good shout. If somebody's using those kind of
yeah,
tactics, then walk away.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
just take time. And actually, if I have a discovery call with somebody, I've got no mechanism to take payment on the phone. I'm not like, give
Mm.
me your 16-digit
No.
card number. I
No.
want people to go away and to think about it and to come back and make an informed decision. Like sometimes they'll just say, like, yes, I'm all in, let's go for it. And that's
Uh-huh.
great. But I'm going to send them the link and they can take the time to
Yeah.
make the payment because I really want people to have that time to reflect and make sure it's right. And sometimes I hear people talking about, oh, it's terrible. I've got all these people on defaulted payment plans and people drop out and people don't commit. I don't have that in my
Mm.
business, or I have a very small amount of that,
Yeah.
but it's minimal.
Yeah.
And these people that are telling me that they have huge amounts of defaulted payments and people who break contracts, to me, that says there's something wrong in their sales process. It tells me
Yeah.
that they are pushing people because people like, we feel awkward, right? About saying, oh no, I can't afford that, or I don't want that, or
Yeah.
that's not right for me. And I think sometimes a certain personality type, if you push that person, they will sign up for something and then they get buyer's
Yeah.
remorse and then you've got a broken contract. But I mean, if you've got the same background as me in recruitment, you know that if someday, even if they say yes to the job, unless they start and unless they complete their probation period, we don't get paid. So there's
No.
no point in us pushing things through.
No.
Right, we have to qualify everything.
Yeah.
And actually, I want people to make those qualified and informed decisions. So I think it's just about anybody who is selling to you in a way that is ethical and integral. They should be giving you time and space. And also, they shouldn't mind if you ask questions. I like it when clients say to me,
Oh,
can I speak to some of your other clients or can
yeah.
I see your reviews? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm an open
Please.
book. Do
Yeah.
your due diligence. Um, and it makes me sad too because I get people who come to me and they've been really burned and they've invested in
Yeah.
things that have cost, multiple thousands of
Yeah.
pounds and they put them on credit cards sometimes. And
I
that's,
know.
they're stuck with all this personal debt. Like, that's not, I don't want to build a business and a legacy that's based on other people's misfortune.
No.
We're building something good and something solid. So I think, yeah, absolutely, people should just take their time researching and considering.
I agree. And I want our coaches to understand that their clients will be doing the same.
Yeah,
So there are clients that you talk to now that you may not work with for
yeah,
another 3 years.
yeah,
And that's okay.
yeah.
That's
And that's where having that process of
yeah.
tracking your leads, remembering who they are.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like I keep coming back to recruitment now because you get it. But I used to work in international recruitment. You worked in professional, so you might meet somebody. They're not going to just move jobs the next
No.
day. That is a slow burn, and you have to remember people, and you have to have that sort of semi-regular, nurturing contact.
Yeah.
And that's actually how that's why things build momentum over a period of time. So absolutely as a business coach, and I think a lot of people do this. They might sort of half-heartedly put out an offer or they have a sales call that doesn't convert, and then they kind of feel a bit almost a bit like cross about it, or they're a
I
bit
know.
embarrassed, and they're a bit kind of like, well, that was just another time wasted. I'm sick of these people that have sales calls and then don't commit, and they almost never speak to them again. They're kind of like,
Yeah.
you're gone to me now, and they move on to the
Oh,
next lead. But actually, nurture that person. And one of the stats that I talked about when you saw me speak was that 80% of sales happen after 5 or more follow-ups. The
ah,
number is between 5 and 12. After 12, it drops off. They're less
okay.
likely to buy then. But to most people, that's just a complete, like, it blows their mind because they can't imagine following up 5 or 12 times.
Yeah, you've got to.
Um, so the study that gave those figures said that 48% of entrepreneurs never follow up, but only
Never.
never, but only 2% of sales happen at that first time that you make the offer. So if you're one of those people, almost half of the population who never follows up, you're only closing 2% of your potential
My
clients.
God.
It's crazy. And only 10% of people say that they would follow up 3 times or more. So actually, that means a very small pool of people in your industry are getting the lion's share of the work. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why when I think about, yeah, it doesn't matter what size or color your font is or what the bullet point on your sales page says. It matters if you're following up and building trust and creating that relationship and following through with people until
Yeah.
they're ready to buy. So yeah, that makes a huge difference.
And the following up in our world, in the business coaching world, is a call, a coffee, a lunch, send somebody an article, send some
Yeah,
information. It's I have clients that I just WhatsApp them. How are you? I know you're about to do. I've got a lady. They've just done a massive acquisition, and I knew it was about this time of year, so I messaged her. I went, "How are you? I know it's a really hectic time for you." That's it.
yeah,
It's no more weighty than that, is it?
yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think there's nuance to it because if I've had a sales meeting or a detailed discovery call with somebody and I've sent a proposal, then I will follow up until I get like
Yeah.
a yes or no answer because that feels reasonable.
Yeah.
Um, but if it's just, if it's a previous client or if it's a referral or a warm contact I've met at an event, it's like that. It's not, I'm trying to follow up to get you to say yes.
No.
I'm actually just keeping in touch with you and finding out what's happening and building a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful thing to do because your network really is everything, especially for your audience.
Yeah.
If they are doing low volume, high value, one-to-one, that takes real skill and trust, and those relationships are built over time and consistency as opposed to bring everybody in at the top, make one offer or have one call and then forget them and just bring a new person in. It just seems such
Doesn't work like
a
that.
wasteful way to do business.
Yeah.
But I think so many people do that. Everybody tells me I just need more leads. And I'm like, I don't think you do because actually
Mm.
you've got all these leads and you haven't converted any of them. So if you get more leads, you're just exacerbating
Yeah.
that problem. You have
Yeah.
to look at who's in your world and how you can kind of make the most of those opportunities.
Amazing, Anna. Amazing. Um, where are you taking your business? What's happening with it?
I am really enjoying. So I went from doing all kind of one-to-one.
Hmm.
So my first thing was I started a membership. I've got a group program and I have got mastermind, and I'm really enjoying small group, but
Mm.
live taught. I really like that dynamic. I still do like my one-to-ones as well. I had a
Yeah.
one-to-one day with a client yesterday, and that was fab. But I'm really enjoying that kind of group dynamic. And now my kids are getting a little bit older. I'm going back to traveling a bit more, so I'm doing quite
Great.
a bit of travel for work this year, which is exciting.
Yeah.
When they were small, I just wanted to be home all the time, and now I'm kind of like, actually, I'd quite like to be away again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got big ambitious plans really to
Brilliant.
grow.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I know our audience is going to get a huge amount of value from this. If you're up for it, I run quarterly special events for our coaches. We take half an hour of your time. If you're up for doing that, then let me know, Anna. If not, don't worry about it. But thank you so much. I
Oh,
really
such a
appreciate it.
pleasure. I can talk, Rebecca. I can always talk. No, it's been a pleasure. I love chatting about what I do, and really nice and so funny to connect with you. And I'm positive that I can remember being at Cuthbert Recruitment. So that's a funny little,
That's
who knows where life
hilarious.
is going to take you.
I know.
But that makes me laugh. But yeah, I'd love to do more for your audience. Do you want me to give you the link now, or do you want me to send it and you can pop it in the show notes for?
Send it and I'll pop it in the show notes. That would be
Perfect.
amazing.
Fabulous.
Okay. Have a great day.
Same to you. Thank you for having me on. Take care. Bye just now.
What are you waiting for? Why carry on being a crap coach when you could be a kick-ass coach? Join us at tricres.com and find out more.